Hi, everybody. So today's lesson is going to be on two-way tables, which is just a step forward after learning about Venn diagrams. So it's going to be a different way for us to see how all the information is given to us within a Venn diagram, but now in a table form. And we can still look at different numbers of people under a given category and be able to find probabilities based off of these tables. So we're just going to do three short examples today just to practice. So our first example here is a group of random 8th graders were surveyed and asked if they have a Facebook account and if they have a Snapchat account. Results are shown in the Venn diagram below. So you've already become familiar with Venn diagrams such as this. So we have the left circle is Facebook, right circle is Snapchat, 16 in the middle is the overlap, and then 8 is everyone who's on the outside who does not have Facebook or Snapchat. So what we're going to do now is transfer all of this information into the table on the right-hand side of it. So as you can see at the top, we have people who do have Facebook or do not have Facebook, and then a total. And then on the left-hand side, we have people who have Snapchat or no Snapchat, and then again, a total. So we're going to be looking at our Venn diagram to look at this. So our first box here is an overlap between Snapchat and Facebook. So we're looking at who has both of them. So in that case, that would be my 16. 16 people have both. So now for our next one, we want to look at who has Snapchat but doesn't have Facebook. So we're looking at the Snapchat circle but no Facebook. So I'm ignoring that middle piece. So in that case, that would be my 20. And then let's go to our next box. So this is no Snapchat, but they have to have Facebook. So again, we're going to look at our Facebook circle, but I don't want them to have Snapchat. So that means I'm looking at 6 people. And then our last one is going to be who has neither Snapchat nor Facebook. And that's going to be whoever's on the outside, which would be 8. And now to get our totals over here, we're just going to add. So a total of how many people have Snapchat. Doesn't matter what the categories are for Facebook. So whether they do or don't have Facebook, it doesn't matter. We're just going to, I'll do this with maybe blue. So we want to add these two numbers together, the 16 and 20, and that will give us a total of 36 students have Snapchat. So you always want to follow the row or the column. So in this case, rows. And now, in order to find out how many in total have no Snapchat, we're going to add those together, and that gives us 14. And now working down. So how many people in total have Facebook? So in this case, I don't care if they have Snapchat or not. We would do 16 plus 6, which gives me 22. And then same thing with the 20 and 8. That would give me 28 people have no Facebook. So now, in order to get an overall total to see how many people were actually surveyed, we would just add either the 36 and 14 or the 22 and 28. Regardless of which way you do it, you will end up getting that the total is 50. So 36 plus 14 is 50, and 22 plus 28 is 50. So it doesn't matter how you look at that, but it's also a good way to check to see that you did it correctly. Okay, so now let's answer the two questions. How many of the students surveyed have Snapchat? So again, we're looking at a total in that case. So we're going to look at Snapchat. In total, we had 36. And then how many of the students surveyed do not have Facebook? So do not have Facebook. In total, we have 28. All right, so now let's go to our next example. So here we no longer have a Venn diagram, and we're just going to work with a two-way table. So it says, the table below shows the results from a survey where students were asked if they play an instrument and if they play a sport. Find the sum of each row and column, then answer the questions that follow. So we're going to simply add each of these numbers to get a total. And then we'll add these two to get this total and add these two to get this total. And that's as simple as that. So 9 plus 14 gives me a total of 23 students play an instrument. Doesn't matter if they play a sport or not. And then 52 students do not play an instrument. Now, if we look at how many of them play a sport, so now we're looking at this first column. So 9 plus 33 gives me 42 students play a sport. Doesn't matter if they play an instrument or not. And then 14 plus 19 gives me 33. So to double check, we could see that in total over here, our box should equal the same number whether we add these two totals or these two totals, which regardless should give us 75. So now based off of this, let's answer some of the questions. So how many students play an instrument? So we're going to look at plays an instrument, go all the way over to the total, and that's 23. Now, how many students play an instrument and play a sport? So here we have a condition. So we're not looking at just the general total of 23 students playing an instrument. We want to look to see if they also play a sport. So that means I'm going to go to plays an instrument and plays a sport. And we're going to choose the 9. How many students do not play a sport? So don't play a sport. We're just going to go to the total of 33. And how many total students were surveyed. So the total is always the number in this corner here. In this case, it's 75. All right, one more example. And this one we'll fill in on our own based off of what's given to us. So it says, Sydney randomly surveyed students at her school and found that 72 students ride the school bus. So I'm going to start filling this in as I'm talking or as I'm reading it. So it says 72 students ride the school bus. That's a total amount. So that means rides the bus. In total, it's going to be 72. And then it says 37 of those students buy lunch from the cafeteria. So that means, I'm just going to underline that. From this 72, 37 of them buy lunch from the cafeteria. So in order to figure out what this missing number is, all we have to do is subtract 37 from 72. We're doing the opposite because in all the other examples, we were adding 9 plus 33 to get 42, for instance. So in order to work backwards to find out what one of these like main pieces are, you can just subtract from the total. So 72 minus 37 is going to give me 35. All right, now there are 19 students. Let's switch to a different color. 19 students that do not ride the bus, but buy lunch from the cafeteria. So there's a condition there. So 19 students that don't ride the bus, but they also buy from the cafeteria. So that means this number right here is going to be 19. And then it says 9 students do not ride the bus or buy lunch from the cafeteria. So that is going to be right here. So now we can work the way we normally do to figure out what our total is for how many do not ride the bus. In that case, it's going to be 28. And then we can work across, so add 37 and 19 to get a total of 56. 35 plus 9 gives us 44. And then we should be able to get the same exact total, regardless of if we do 56 plus 44 or 72 plus 28. And our total should be 100. So we're going to answer some questions. They are basic questions just like before, but for 4 of them, I'm also going to be asking for what the probability would be for those given situations, and I'll explain how to do that as well. So our first one says, how many students buy their lunch? So we're looking at this category right here, buys their lunch. In total, we have 56 students. So if I were to ask, what's the probability of a student buying their lunch? Here, it's always going to be this number, so 56, out of whatever the total is. In this case, the total number of students is 100. It's not always going to be that case. So for instance, with the other one, if we were to find the probability, it would be a certain number out of 75. Or with our first example, it would be a number out of 50 because that was our total number of students. So whatever your total sample size is, that's what you want your denominator to be. Okay, and then you always want to simplify these as much as possible. So this would reduce to 14 over 25. All right, so how many students ride the bus? So my first column, but do not buy their lunch. So we're looking at the 35 over here. And that would be 35 out of 100, which can reduce to 7 over 20. And then for part C, how many students do not ride the bus? So we're looking at our second column. In total, we have 28 students. So that's going to be 28 out of 100, which reduces to 7 over 25. How many students do not buy their lunch? So do not buy their lunch. We're looking at the second row. In total, we have 44. So 44 out of 100 for our probability, which reduces to 11 out of 25. And then how many total students were surveyed? That's just a simple one. We're again looking at this corner piece, also our denominator and all the probabilities, and that is 100. Okay, so I hope that was a super simple, easy lesson for you.